Lest we take things for granted, I just want to name what we just did. So, over 1,000-year-old words of a medieval poet and philosopher, written in Spain before the Inquisition, protected and saved for those 1,000 years, handed to us, put into the latest Reform Jewish prayer book, the Religion of the Enlightenment, and set to a modern melody played on an electronic piano. That is progress. That is Judaism and the way it is transformed and given new life through the mouths and through the minds of us, of the Jews. So with that in mind, I want to tell you a little bit about what went on this past week, because I had the chance to go to the Knesset. No, I didn't have to actually go to Israel. The Knesset came to Los Angeles. At least 8 members of the Knesset, MKs, members of the Knesset. They're doing a tour of the United States, and on Monday for lunch, so happens Rabbi Woznicka and I went and sat with 8 rabbis of all denominations from around the city, and we sat with these MKs at Valley Beth Shalom just down the hill. So I walked in there anticipating an interesting conversation, because this was the reason we were invited, an interesting conversation about American Jewry with thoughtful and reflective questions from the members of Knesset and the rabbis patiently giving clarifying responses. And then there would be follow-up questions and a lot of, very interesting. So what I got, though, was the Knesset. What I got was, Rabbi Feinstein, Eddie Feinstein at Valley Beth Shalom opened the meeting. And if you know Ed, Ed's a passionate Zionist. He's a strong supporter of AIPAC. He's a leader in the community for a robust pro-Israel dialogue. So that was why what happened after Eddie opened the meeting was even more shocking, because before he ended his remarks in pure Knesset fashion, he was interrupted. He was interrupted by a member of Knesset, Oded Forer, of the Yisrael Beitenu, secular nationalists, mostly Russian Jews, with what was a rather passionate, let's say angry, dismissal and refutation of what the member of Knesset thought Rabbi Feinstein said. The interesting thing was, I don't think that's what Eddie said. And it kind of went downhill from there. Lots of interruptions, lots of lectures by the members of Knesset telling us what was wrong with the American Jewish community, lots of side conversations, lots of murmuring in Hebrew. And honestly, the rabbis kind of sat there with our mouths open, looking at each other and wondering when actually we were going to have a chance to talk. And if you've ever sat with rabbis, you know, it's not hard for rabbis to find a reason or an opening to talk, but we couldn't in the face of this barrage from the Israeli Knesset. Yeah, it's shocking, right? So you might have heard the thud as this encounter flopped in Encino on Monday afternoon. So what happened? I've been thinking about that really since Monday. I think I came up with a bit of an answer, because what we came face to face with that afternoon was the thing that's most confounding and exhilarating about what Israel means to the Jews. Because Israel is, of all the things that Israel is, it's the touchstone for Jewish dreams. And it's the touchstone often for conflicting Jewish dreams. In 2013, Yossi Klein Halevi gave the world a gift of his wonderful book. And his book is called Like Dreamers, the story of Israeli paratroopers who reunited Jerusalem and divided a nation. And Yossi Klein Halevi of the Shalem Center traces the life of 7 paratroopers who liberated Jerusalem, who were secular and religious Zionists, all fighting side by side, and he explains that they had very different visions for Israel's future. This is from the opening of his book. He says, this book tells the story, through the lives of 7 paratroopers, of Israel's competing utopian dreams, and how the Israel symbolized by the kibbutz became the Israel symbolized by the settlement. Now, the very title of the book, Like Dreamers, comes from a psalm that Jews have recited for thousands of years at the grace after meal on Shabbat. Just a quick piece of the psalm. When the Lord returned, the exiles when the Lord returned the exiles of Zion, we were like dreamers. And that's where the title of the book comes from. Then our mouths filled with laughter and our tongues with songs of joy. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. And we said, the Lord has done great things for us. That's Psalm 126. Clearly, Israel has always been the inspiration for the dreams of the Jewish people. For 2,000 years, we said at the end of our prayer, at the end of our Seder, next year in Jerusalem, L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim. That was a dream that became real in 1948. In 1902, Theodor Herzl echoed the words of Psalm 126 in his famous passage, Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you will it, it is no dream, but the rest of it is, if you don't will it, it will always remain nothing but a dream. And his vision, Theodor Herzl's vision, gave rise to the modern state. The problem, or better, the incredible opportunity, is that the dreams that each of us may have for Israel are often dramatically different. And when those dreams come face to face, they sometimes don't coexist very well. In fact, sometimes they collide. And the result of that collision can be disillusionment and maybe a small amount, or not a small amount, of cynicism. And perhaps that's what happened around that table at Valley Beth Shalom this week. There were dreamers of different dreams trying to have a conversation, and it's hard to do that. So as we sit here on the eve of Israel's 69th birthday, we can't give up on the dreamers, and we can't give way to the cynics. I believe we have to double down on dreaming. I believe that there have to be room for all those who hold on to passionate dreams of Israel. And there will be collisions, and there will be overlaps, and all of our dreams will be tempered by the reality of circumstances on the ground. But if we censor the dreams or the dreamers, we risk undermining an essential source of energy that's given us the gift of Israel in the first place. So here are some of what I think are the most powerful dreams, the sources for our passion, and often the sources for our most passionate disagreements among those who deeply love Israel. We share a dream of Israel as a Jewish homeland, clearly. Now, for some, that means a state open to all Jews, the acceptance of those who walk many paths into Judaism, who have many different identities that they call Jewish, where membership through conversion or lineage is open and the state recognizes everyone. For others, that dream of a Jewish homeland means a state that follows the practices of traditional Judaism as they interpret it. There can be no compromise when it comes to God's law. And for others, still, they dream of a secular country where Judaism is a culture and not a religion. When those dreams collide, sparks often fly. So my question is, how can we craft a Jewish state large enough for all those dreams to coexist? We share a dream of a Jewish state at peace with its neighbors. Now, for some, that means a Jewish population from the river, the Jordan River, to the sea, a state that encompasses the boundaries described in the Bible, acknowledged by its neighbors because of its strength, a state where Jewish security is paramount, and extreme measures are justified to hold on to the land. For others, the dream of a Jewish state at peace with its neighbors means we have to make room for the non-Jews around us. That when others are deprived of their land, their livelihood, their own dreams, then the state loses its Jewish core principles. Yes, Jewish security is essential, but the path to security is through strength and accommodation. And of course, there are variations of those dreams, and when dreams collide, sparks fly. How can we craft a Jewish state secure enough for both lively debate and essential compromises? We share a dream of an Israel where Jewish values are paramount. Now, some read those sacred texts and they apply those thousands of year old principles And they say modernity is an inconvenience, and secular values undermine Torah. And compromise is difficult, if not impossible, because, after all, that's what undermines tradition. Now, others read those same texts, the very same words, and they balance democracy with secularism with Jewish values. And they imagine a country that embodies the best of democracy, mediated by Jewish values, not controlled by Jewish values. A state where gender equality and religious freedom and participatory democracy have to be components of a true Jewish state. But when those dreams collide, sparks often fly. How can we craft a Jewish state bold enough to test Jewish values, but with the courage to modify them when they're found wanting? We share a dream that all Jews across the world are passionate about their support and love for Israel. For some, that requires allegiance, absolute unqualified allegiance and fidelity. There can't be any dissent or disagreement with the positions of the Israeli government in public. That we who live outside the land have to defer judgment to those who live there, who vote in its elections, who wage its wars, who fulfill their lives on its soil. And then any public dissent, they tell us, is like betrayal. But for others, the dream of collective support for Israel is about dissent, that's essential. That Jewish tradition has long upheld a tradition of debate and dialogue and disagreement, and that the character of a Jewish state has to be influenced by all Jews, whether they live there or they live chutz la'aretz, as Israelis say, outside of the land. These people believe that public dissent actually makes Israel stronger, and it makes those who support it even more engaged because of the debate. These dreamers overlap and conflict even as we seek to engage the next generation, and with these dreams, the sparks often fly. But we have programs like Birthright and twinning experiences where our elementary school students are right now, and high school trips. All of these programs seek to kindle the sparks of connection to Israel. But too few are reached by those experiences, and the dream is never even fired up. So how can we craft a diaspora, Jewish communities outside of the land, that engender a deep, abiding, profound commitment to Israel's future? So back to Monday. As we got up to say our goodbyes, I turned to the member of Knesset next to me, who I didn't even have a chance to talk to during the lunch, and I learned that her name is Eliza Levi, and I discovered that she's a product of the Orthodox youth movement, B'nai Akiva. And she has a doctorate from Bar Ilan, a brilliant woman. She told me with pride that she wrote a book that captured Israeli women's prayers over the centuries. And as I listened to her, I realized that we had overlapping dreams. Me, this Reform rabbi from Los Angeles, and her, this Orthodox Jewish member of Knesset from Israel. She stands up at the Knesset regularly, and she advocates for religious pluralism, for gender equality, and for a strong Israel. And sometimes she's shouted down, and the worst curse that's thrown at her is that she's a Reform Jew. Her dreams have let her persist as a politician. Her dreams keep her at it even when she gets shouted down. And yes, even as we embrace Jewish dreams, we have to recognize that there are Palestinian dreams that we have to contend with and listen to. So we need to realize, as Yossi Klein Halevi said, that Israel is a land born of conflicting dreams. But the enemy of a dream is not another dreamer. The enemy of a dream, the destroyer of a dream, is a cynic, someone who refuses to dream, or someone who's given up on their dreams. So in our zealous embrace of our dreams, we can't shut out or shut down those who hold different dreams. We can't declare them enemies or obstacles or traitors or betrayers, because Israel for the Jews has to be a celebration of all Jewish dreamers. Israel, because of what she means to us. will always be as much a dream as she is an everyday reality. And in some strange way, that's probably the way it should be. A poem by the African-American poet Langston Hughes that reminds us of the power of dreams. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Amen.